go. Thank you so much, Amanda, for the introduction. Amanda knows me well. You know, I like to talk. We go way back. We go way back, and we can talk a lot. So, yeah. So Amanda will keep me honest, but obviously if you have questions, I'd love to hear from you. I normally start the conversation with the question that Amanda just asked. Who understands or knows about retail media, who's been in touch with retail media as a concept. So it's always interesting to know what the audience understands about it, and just where to position the conversation. But it seems like there's quite a few of you in the room who have an understanding of retail media. So hopefully I won't bore you too much with the details of the definitions and so on. But I think it is important to start with some context. So what I'll do is I'll give you some definitions just to go to the basics of what retail media is, how it works, and then obviously I'd like to focus on how businesses can benefit from retail media, because ultimately that is what it boils down to. How can you work with retail media networks to the benefit of your business? So just before we go into that, just a quick introduction. So my name is Tanja, so I look after Rainmaker Media. We are part of the Shoprite Group, and I'm not going to go into Rainmaker Media too much. Just wanted to pop up one slide. I'm going to play a very quick video that will summarize it for you. So just so you know where Rainmaker comes from, what is our proposition and how it all fits together. So we obviously have access to Shoprite's first-party data. That's the most important thing to know about Rainmaker. Shoprite is the biggest retailer in Africa, and having access to that data obviously puts us in a great position to be able to identify customers for any businesses based on things that we know about them through the shopping behavior. So I'm going to play a very quick video just to give you an overview of what Rainmaker does, and then we'll go into the details of retail media. Let's see how it works. So that's Rainmaker Media in a nutshell, and hopefully that gives you an understanding of the proposition of Rainmaker Media. But I'd rather want to spend some time talking about the concept of retail media. So I'm going to start with some quick definitions, and just to give a little bit of information around the background, where it comes from, and where it is today. I'm sure a lot of you would have already seen this graph. This one has been making the rounds, different colors and different versions of it, but if you have heard about retail media, you would have probably seen this graph. What this graph shows you here is that retail media is being called the third wave of digital marketing. And the reason for that is that if you consider what marketing was all about, go back 50 years or more, marketing was always about spray and pray. Just get your message out there, put it out, and hope that the best, the right customer is going to see it and the best people is going to come to your business. It's the most relevant. But you don't know if it worked, you don't know if the right people are seeing it, and obviously there's some wastage in there because you're showing the message to some people where it's not relevant. So the first big disruptive search, Google entered the market, disrupted the advertising market, the marketing industry, because they allowed now businesses and brands to target customers based on things they know about them because of what they are searching in the Google search engine. So Google knows things about you, they can target advertising messages to you based on that, and that obviously started precision marketing as a concept. The next thing was social media. So enter Facebook. They came along and they said, well, we actually know more because we actually have information that people willingly give us when you tell Facebook what you like and what your preferences are. But also they do track you, as you know, all the behavior, the likes, how long you hang on a post. And they use that to put you in interest segments. So they also allow marketers and advertisers to target you based on what they know about you. So the third biggest disruptor now is retail media. So the graph also shows you how these, the first two, the predecessors, how long it took for them to gain traction and where they are right now. And just looking at retail media within only 5 years, how much it's already grown, the momentum it's already picked up. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because the data that retail media has is transactional data. It's not interest, it's not search, it's transactional, so it's actual behavior. We don't have a lot of information in South Africa just yet, but this gives you an indication of what the US market looks like at the moment. It's currently sitting at $45 billion, so it's quite a sizable market, very established already in the developed markets, and growing at $10 billion a year. So even still in a developed market, the momentum is still exponential, and obviously we would see something happening in Africa, South Africa as well, as that sort of picks up momentum. So quickly the definitions. I always joke when I speak to my team about doing definitions in English. If you try and say something without an acronym, you find it really difficult if you're in this industry. Tech industry, media industry, we love our acronyms. But this is the English definition of retail media. It's a form of advertising that allows a brand or business to promote their products in the retailer's physical store or on their digital platforms. And that's the very basic definition of it. So if you go on to how it works, the advertising obviously involves highly targeted messages, as we mentioned, because we know who we're talking to, and it can be displayed to customers while they are making their purchase decisions. So customers are normally in a mindset where they're ready to buy something by the time that message arrives. So you can imagine this is absolute gold if you're an FMCG brand. So this is obviously where this really shines. FMCG brands really benefit from retail media, and it's a very obvious synergy there where retail media and FMCG brands work together. But I think what I would like to do today is also explain how outside of that there's opportunities for any businesses. It's not just limited to FMCG. So what if you are not in the FMCG space and you don't want to sell something within the retailer's environment? How can you as a business benefit from retail media? So because of the nature of the data we obviously have shopper insights, and what we can do is we can use those insights to the benefit of any business. I'm going to talk a little bit about more practical examples of things that we have done and that has already been developed in this space. But basically it boils down to using the data to build some very clever data science models that where you can predict behavior and identify certain customers off the back of the retail data that we have access to. So why is retail media even a thing? Like, why is this thing growing so fast? Why do people care so much about it? It's because all the stakeholders benefit. So everybody who's involved in retail media benefits from it. Everybody from the brands or the advertisers, they're obviously getting those highly targeted messages. Retailers get a new revenue stream, so great for them. And the customers, I think that's also one of the most important things is ads do not have a good reputation. People do not like them. They try to skip them if they can. They will opt out if they can, or even pay not to receive them. So if you can provide relevant advertising to customers, they are much more likely to receive that message in good light, and also then the conversion is so much higher because the message is relevant. So you're not wasting advertising rands speaking to wrong people, and the opportunity to convert those ads into actual clients or customers is just so much better when you're using this data. So in terms of the brands and the businesses, I think I've said this, but just in a nicely written summary, that by leveraging the customer data, we can deliver ads to customers who are the most likely to be interested in your product or your business, and that's what it boils down to. That's the key of the message. So the service in terms of what it is that we offer, or let's say what retail media offers as a service, it's called precision advertising or precision marketing. That's the one you would have heard already because Google does it, Facebook does it. Precision marketing is the ability to advertise to a customer knowing something about them, that's relevant. And this is what I said earlier, but Google knows what you're looking for, they know what you're searching, they're going to use that information. Facebook knows what you're liking, but the retail media networks, they know what you're actually buying. So if you're pretending to be a yoga-loving vegan on Facebook, we in retail media know that you buy that roast chicken every Sunday in the store. So the data we have is just far more accurate. We've tested it, we've done some case studies, so retail data has outperformed any other types of data, interest data, and this case study just speaks to Nappy brands. It's 33% performed better to this specific campaign, but we've got multiple case studies speaking to that, just the quality of the data and the accuracy of it. So retail media and why it's different, I think now that I've also given you a hopefully nice understanding of what it does, but there are some things that really set it apart, especially the marketing industry. The fact that we can identify the best audiences within the retail media space based on that buying and that channel interaction behavior. We also do use multiple sources of data to create a single view of a customer. So we do know not just what they're doing in our stores, but also what they're doing on other platforms, because all that data can be tracked and obviously linked to a single profile through a customer data platform. So that is also something that we can do to enrich the data. So 3 ingredients that make up a retail media network. The first thing, the most important thing, is the first-party data. I think a lot of people have heard about cookies being deprecated. It's quite a hot topic. Also, deadline keeps moving, but it will happen eventually. It's going to happen. And when that happens, I think a lot of advertisers or businesses are a little bit nervous about how do we reach our customers now that we can't find them anymore, because we used to be able to track them through ad tech networks where third-party cookies was used mostly to make those connections. So what are we going to do now? So first-party data is becoming really important, super important for the future of marketing and finding the right customers. And retail media networks sit with a big chunk of the first-party data. I think also maybe just to highlight that although a lot of businesses have first-party data, and obviously that's, if you're a bank or if you're a telco, you will have first-party data. But what's really interesting about retail media data is because it's so frequent, people interact with the retailers on a weekly basis. So it is fresh, it's frequent, and it's always up to date. The closed-loop reporting, obviously, if you're an FMCG brand, this is where you can link that sale back into the store so you know the customer bought something if they saw the ad. We've got some really great models where we can do attribution as well. And even outside of sales in our stores, we can also help to measure conversions and omni-channel reach, which means that it's not specific to one channel. So retail media isn't digital only. Retail media isn't search only, as Amazon, I think, was built on retail media being search. That is the key, I think, product that has, I think, catapulted retail media into the media landscape, but it is so much more. And because of all the physical channels that are available, it doesn't matter actually which channel it is. The data is the key thing that is being used to activate across any channel that you possibly want to activate across. So I just wanted to quickly bring this up on the first-party data. I mentioned that, I mean, scale is important, right? Otherwise, first-party data of free customers is not going to get you anyway. So currently, Extra Savings members, that's just to give you an indication of the scale of Shoprite as a retailer. It's actually sitting at 29.4 million now. I have to keep updating the slides every month because it's growing so fast. But there was just a recent week we announced our results, and the investor presentation was 29.4 million Extra Savings customers signed up, swiping their cards in the store. 2,500 swipes per minute happening in the stores. So it is a large amount of information that we're obviously getting from those transactions. And just want to put on the side there, it's not to indicate we don't compete with those channels. We actually use the channels as well. We activate and execute. So a retail media network will always work very closely with these channels. But it's just to show context. For sizing purposes, those are the South African audience sizes for the channels that you are all pretty familiar with. So if you were to go to any of those channels, that would be the reach you could expect at a maximum through those channels. So just showing already how the first-party data has already exceeded that, but also not competing with it, we're using it to activate across these channels as well. I mentioned the closed-loop reporting. So again, it's very important that you can prove that your advertising is actually working. It's core to the proposition of a retail media network is to prove that advertising is actually changing behavior of a customer. So there's a lot of products built to prove this. In the FMCG space, the obvious things is to link an ad that has been viewed, so attribution of an ad viewed to a sale in a store or online. We have models to do that, even online and offline. A lot of shopping still happening in the physical store, so we have the ability to match an offline sale to an online ad view. So that's also an important one for the FMCG brands. But the lift studies as well, control groups are vital, because anything that happens that you assume is good performance may have happened either way. So sometimes you saw an ad, but you would have bought the product either way. So when you have access to these groups, you've got audience segments, you know exactly who you're targeting. So you've got your specific audience, you take 10% of that audience and you just hold them out of the group. When you show the ad to the exposed group and obviously hold out the non-exposed group, and you measure that afterwards over the same period of time, that's when you can tell true incremental lift, because the audience behaved the same before, and only after the ad was shown and there was a difference obviously in seeing and not seeing the ad, they changed their behavior. So it really gives you a great way to measure whether your advertising is actually working or not, if you wanted to go back and explain to your shareholders or your exec team what you have done with advertising budgets if you are responsible for it. And also if you're a business and you have very little money to spend, this is a great way to ensure that the money you have for marketing, if you're a small business and you want to make sure every rand is accounted for, you're not wasting money on advertising to the wrong people. This is how you prove that the advertising spend has actually worked for you.
Tanya, can I interrupt you because I have a burning question that
Yes.
I don't think I can wait till the finish of the presentation. Can you go back 2 slides, because those stats that you showed were absolutely staggering. Yeah. Is that 28 million South African customers?
So it's 29.4 million now.
South African customers.
Yeah.
I mean, what is South Africa's current population?
60 million.
So literally you have half the entire population of the country in your network that advertisers can actually reach out to and do precision marketing and ad campaigns.
So there's another slide, sorry, that I didn't include in this presentation. I don't want to spend the time talking about Shoprite, and I'd rather want to focus on the retail media side of things. But just to Amanda's point that, because of the scale of it, Shoprite interacts with 80% of the South African population. So the South African shopper population interacts with Shoprite's brands on a weekly basis. That means that, the scale of that is having access to 80% of South Africa's population. It's quite a nice indication of a lot of things. Like, it's an indicator that you can use even when you extrapolate data to show behavior for the population in total. Obviously, of that, the 80%, this is the amount of people signed up to the card. So, and the cards are being swiped. It's not a loyalty program that's sitting dormant. It's actually voted recently as the most successful loyalty program in the country. Because people are getting instant benefits from it. So now I'm pitching Shoprite. But I think it's important to understand, I guess, the context of within which you're operating.
I don't know, I think I'm personally quite interested in understanding the product and that, as potentially an advertiser or as a small business, if I have a product that I'm wanting to sell, are there certain minimum requirements or parameters to become an advertiser to actually tap in and get that audience?
So absolutely not. You can, and I think that's the great thing about the precision marketing aspect, is you can target small bases with very little money and make very impactful behavior changes through using this data. And that's, I think, the key. So having little money to spend and wanting to make the most of it. We do have, just from obviously within privacy and compliance and what we're allowed to do within personalization, we have to work within 1,000 members at a time. So we can't speak to Peter, Yanni and Sunny directly, although they're all in the audience segment. We have to have 1,000 Peter, Yannis and Sunnies in one segment to also just be compliant, because obviously at a level of personalization you have to do
that's that copy act you're referring
That's
to,
the
right?
one.
Yeah. Okay.
So obviously, but again, cost effective, the most cost effective way to spend your advertising budget and get real results. I'll go into some more detail about just getting more practical here towards the end, but just the last slide on the retail media special or key ingredients that makes up the network. I mentioned that omnichannel is important. Whenever a customer makes a decision about anything they want to buy, anything they want to sign up for, there needs to be multiple touch points. I think there's like a rule of 7, if it's not changed already from my earlier education days. But we have to engage with customers through various channels, whether it's just a thing they see as they're moving past it, or whether it's something they're actively engaging with. It actually, over time, has an impact on their behavior. It's not an overnight thing. So this is where the multiple touch points become also very important. Marketing is a funnel. It actually has to move down the funnel to get to the sale or the conversion at the end of the day. and the ability to have the touch points in an omni-channel fashion is obviously then very important. This obviously speaks to a lot of what Shoprite also has, but it's true for any retail media business. So we do have the physical stores, and the footprint's quite big, as we mentioned. It's over like 3,000 stores now, 2,800 in the last update, but it's a lot of physical stores where we put actual advertising in on shelf. You're a customer making a decision, and there's something helping you decide. Obviously, that's quite powerful. But also radio is being used, screens being used in the stores. And then outside of that, we've got our e-commerce platforms. We've got 6060, obviously a very big one for us as well. And then even off-site, I mentioned the social media networks. I mentioned platforms that's not owned by the Shoprite Group. We have the ability to talk to customers wherever they are because we know who they are. So we can activate across any channel, across the internet, South Africa, or physical if we do partnerships with other businesses. So just gives you that indication. So this is where the stuff gets interesting. And I think this is where I just wanted to pause. There's only like 4 slides left, so going through it fairly quickly, but I want to just pause on this quickly. Data ecosystems is probably, I think, where it gets really exciting for businesses, especially if you're not in the FMCG space, so it's not that obvious. So within this, this is where we build and create very interesting data science products that can benefit businesses in multiple ways. So just some examples of things that already exist. Basket score gives you an indication of many things, but spend affluence is one of them. We could do credit vetting through that. It's basically a score assigned to a customer based on their shopping behavior. It gives you a better indication than LSM around their behavior and their affluence.
Can you give an example of what that looks like?
Actually, there's a slide I'm going to show after this one. I'll go through some details of how that works. And then we've got the health score. So obviously, health data obviously very, very sensitive, but the things that you can tell from a shopping or a shopper's behavior around health, also quite interesting, giving health scores there and the ability to then, make sense of that. Economic insights, because of the scale of the data, we obviously do have the ability to do insights for the, like state of the economy and where things are going and predictions like that. And then the precision audiences, that's where we go into the detail and find those audiences, we find those customers. And I'll just show you very quickly how this works. So we call it enhanced features, but just again, retail data is quite indicative of a lot of things. And if you buy certain products, we can tell a couple of things about you. And new parent model is one of those things where we've got about 5,000 people in that new parent segment, but it's just we know who the new parents are, and we know where kind of what they're doing and what they're shopping, and a couple of things about them, so we can target them more effectively with advertising messages. Spend affluence, we mentioned just now, but this is a very interesting indicator because it also helps you to understand a customer's propensity to spend. So it's not just they have wealth, it's actually their willingness to spend. And that's also a nice indicator and helps conversion quite a lot. Credit pre-vetting I mentioned, we can do this without any credit history needing to be present because of, the buying behavior. There was a lot of conversation around financial inclusion earlier as well, I think at a business level, but also at an individual level. What's really great about products like this is that we have the ability to identify people who will qualify for loans, but they have no prior credit history. So some people are being excluded from the economy and excluded from this opportunity just because, and it's a catch-22, because you don't have credit history, you can't get credit history. So this is an opportunity to identify people who qualify for loans, even if they're paying in cash, but their behavior indicates that they're a good candidate, to promote specific products or services to because of their spend affluence. And then obviously pre-vetting them for credit as well. Homeowners, car owners, predicted income, and also having access to business, registered directors within businesses who took out business loans. So there's a couple of things we have in the data set that we can overlay and just have more meaningful conversations with businesses around advertising to anybody within these segments. The way we do it through dashboards, so we obviously identify the customers through the dashboard, and then we will overlay the data and then pull the relevant audiences out. And the lookalike model, I think this is the one that's applicable to anybody. Because if you as a business have data on your customers, if you know what your ideal customer looks like, whether it's like a business or an individual, if you can map that, You can then overlay that with the data set, obviously the extra savings data, and that will give you the ability to find other customers who act similarly. So the lookalike being other customers who behave the same. That's your ideal customer. They're not your customer yet, but you want to go after those customers and try and sign them up. So I'll go into a little bit more detail here. So I spoke about the pre-vetting. So a great opportunity for us to get customers to being actively participating in the economy. And also, like I mentioned, you don't even need to have any history for us because we have the information that we use. And these models are trained, obviously, on the shopper data. There's science behind it. It's not, something we made up overnight. It's obviously a bit of AI that goes in here as well, and the predictions that happen that come out of it. Lookalike models I mentioned. So this is a merge in a clean room, how we do this. So the business that we partner with comes with their data. They bring their data. We map the ideal customer. We merge the data in a clean room, and then we identify similar customers to target with advertising or marketing messages to go and find them wherever they are, any channels. Also, a great way to understand market size and opportunity. If you're a new business or if you're a business looking to expand, and you want to know how many people are out there who will be interested in my product or in my business and my service, this is a way to see the market size up that opportunity through the data set. So it's actually quite great for research as well. And then just also, what other characteristics do your ideal customers have that you didn't even know about? So you can add those things as well. And the second last one here, just the spend affluence I mentioned, much more accurate than any LSM indicator will ever be. From a conversion perspective, tried and tested, and our partnerships. So we do obviously partner with a couple of other businesses or institutions and industries where we do have data from the automotive sector, we have data from the property market sector, and credit bureau, and we overlay all of that to get a very nice view of the population and assist businesses with advertising more effectively. And that is, I think, the real benefit of a retail media network is the ability to advertise more effectively to the right people at the right time. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanja. We got questions going. All right. First one here. Anyone else is ready?
Thanks so much. I absolutely loved your presentation. I'm in digital marketing myself, so I find it very, very interesting. I just wanted to understand your lookalike audiences a bit better. Obviously, I use them a lot with our own marketing. I just wanted to understand, do you use Meta to do the lookalike audiences, or do you have your own system?
So it's actually a data science product that we built, and I actually told the team to change the name because Meta uses the same name for lookalike audiences, where they basically just look at interests again as indicators. So you go, I want people interested in buying dog food, dogs. Then you just go, okay, we need more people who are interested in dogs. So there's a lot more science behind this. Obviously, it's predicting behaviors as well, and indicators that are not just tick boxes like dogs. So it's also a model that performs better when we looked at how we do our lookalike audiences and expanding on those audiences. We did something for a financial services business the other day, and it was like a 22% increase in the performance of their advertising just using the lookalike model to sign up for a specific product that they had. So I think, not to confuse the two, but it's a really good question because obviously using the word, Meta has a product, it's not the same. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that, and there's quite a bit of science put into the model that it really performs far better and uses far more metrics and indicators to determine that lookalike base for you.
Guys, we've run out of time for questions, but if you have any other questions, Tanja is around for lunch, so you can run after her. Do you?